Ashley, you still there?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
here.
What do you think?
Um, it's all right, but I feel like I need more texture.
One thing here, you're getting the idea, obviously, but here for texture, oh, I see. So I'm going to go select that, go back up here. Maybe, let's see. One thing I've noticed, let's see if it's these.
Yeah, sorry I didn't name it. Like I was just so
But that's fine. I
busy.
don't care about that.
Okay.
I mean, that's really for you, and you do need to learn to organize these things, obviously. I'm going to see if I can change this. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like, okay, one thing I'm digging about these Greg Rukowski brushes is that I can assign them to other things, which a lot of brushes you can't. So I just assigned this rougher one, and I could probably find an even more rough one. Oh, that's under my faves. I don't want that. Why is that there? Wait, maybe it is. Huh. That's super weird. Hang on. Yeah, I don't want these here. These should be up here. They should be all the way at the top. Oh. Okay, these should be here. I don't know how those got moved. I'm looking for really rough brushes. So these can instantly become some nice smudge brushes because these are fairly straightforward brushes as far as I can tell. So if you wanted to get a little more texture in there on these, you know, you could use these or whatever. We're going to talk about some other things today. Hopefully we can get to that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then I want to go, you know, have some sort of consistent idea here. Let's try the other one. Let's try a broken edge, which I just like a lot for some reason. And that'll give me some nice texture. See that?
Mm-hmm.
So basically what you want to do is you want to make sure whatever you're, I always say, you know, it's mostly in drawing and painting classes, but whenever you're, see, that's getting a little more planet-like.
Yeah, I feel like the way I did it, it looked way too smooth to be a planet.
Okay, that's a really good point, by the way, because really what you want to do is you want to make sure that you've got a variety of edges. I know we've said this. And one of the main things that I always see with beginners, you guys have probably all seen it, is like when you go to an art show or something, and it's a lot of beginners or hobbyists or whatever, you tend to see whatever medium it's in, they tend to blend everything out, right? So they do a portrait and everything's blended out. And it's weird because that's another holdover, I think, from childhood. Because when you kind of learn to smudge things and all that and shade things a little bit, everybody thinks that makes it look really pro. But actually, when you have a bunch of blended out edges, it looks super amateur. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what I always say about whether it's image creation, it doesn't matter. I just use drawing and painting as an example. Whenever you put a mark down, make sure that mark has an intention. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if I'm creating like a texture or something, not to say that I can't have like on a planet a variety of textures, because you probably would, but I got to really think it through and kind of go, well, this is, I don't know, this is a rocky terrain. I'm fairly close to the planet, so maybe I'll get some nice hard broken edges there, like I'm doing here, you know. And then I want to go in and like mix some nice, you know, different types of edges in there, but they all got to make sense. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really why the reason I'm harping on that is that people usually get into, especially in Photoshop, and they like airbrush everything, you know, and it just looks really gross. It's like, that just looks gross, you know. It's like everything's airbrushed, you know, soft, you know, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so it's just you know, it's just intention. Okay, putting a line down, it should describe something. If you're putting a shape down, it should describe something. you know, and then there's stylistic things you can do over that. They don't have to be so descriptive and all that, but you want a good fundamental image under there to build on. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would probably just put some continents in here now, you know, because
Yeah,
now
like
I've sort of got this whole soft thing going on. Or maybe I'd come in here and just go, I don't know if this probably won't work, but I'm going to try it.
but like I don't exactly know what color I should use for the continents, like using the color palettes now. It's really
What I
like
would do, I would just go in a probably find uh some reference and just kind of see what I usually, if I'm going to do something like that, I'll go and look at a variety of planets, especially now, man. There's so much good imagery, that stuff. They're getting really close images now. And just, you know, like I think it's Jupiter is a gas planet, right?
yes.
I just saw, I think we pulled it up when I was doing the demo for this. I think it was Mars, like a really close image of it. That was really interesting.
Mhm.
Earth, obviously. You know, and there's other ones, you know, that you can just get all sorts of different ideas from, especially when it's just when you're just making up a fantasy environment. You know, the planet can be what you want it to be, basically. It just has to look believable, right?
Mhm.
But I might come in here. What I want to do here is just start to. I'm just using my or dodge and burn tool, and you notice it's getting a little gray there, which I don't normally like, but I can change that. And I want, this is on the midtones. Let's try shadows. You know, and again, I'm gonna have to come in here and sort of knock that out. And so really, I could probably take any of these colors you already have here, maybe, let's
Mhm.
say, and go, and put a new layer up here, let's say. Oops. Oh, there it is. And maybe, because it feels like it just needs some dark areas.
Yeah. But like every time I try to use like a dark color, like it just looks really like messy. And I
What I
didn't like
just
it.
did is I just took your color and I just darkened it.
Okay.
And by doing that, I know it's going to harmonize because it's the same color.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's the same thing. It's like you'll notice, and it happens digitally too in a different way. But when you're painting, so that's, the dark kind of helps it there.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, um, when you're painting, you'll get to this point where everything's working, like traditional painting.
Mhm.
Um, and you're like, when you first are doing that, you're like, why is this all of a sudden I'm just on fire? And the reason part of it is that you've got a bunch of mixes on there if you've got a smaller palette that are all now harmonizing together because you've started to create this painting based on these colors. And then all you're doing is you're nudging the colors one way or another. You know what I mean? So you might have that little reflective light on the face and you go, it needs to go a little lighter. So then you just dip into that pool, push it a little bit more yellow or whatever. And you're just nudging the colors because you got your base colors there and everything's harmonizing. And it kind of happens with the digital thing too, because I'm going back and sampling other things I already had and then modifying that color. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it all tends to start to harmonize because that's what I'm doing. Now, another thing you might do here, and we didn't talk about, is maybe this is going to be way too light. Let's see what this looks like. Hang on. So you get, let's see. Yeah. So we could probably, I have to calibrate my Wacom again. By the way, it's been doing this all morning. This is like the 5th time I've had to do this. And I think Mac is working pretty good for editing now. I don't know if I already mentioned that. So hopefully I can get the class videos up a lot quicker. Okay, so let's go here. Okay. And maybe pick up, let's see how bright this is. There it goes. You know, I could probably come in here and get a little bit of a cloud cover. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I have to vary it a little bit. I'm just going to do it quick. Yeah, that's not too bad. And I'd go in and vary it a little bit. But that's not too bad, actually. Need some on the interior, but I'll just leave it at that. And it's too uniform right now. I'd have to break it up. The shapes are a little too similar. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it looks way better.
But I just looked at this real quick. Where is it? This.
Mhm.
You know, and what I tend to do, you know, it takes a while to get experience doing that, but I tend to look at things. If you notice, I'm not looking at it anymore. I just kind of look at it and go, how does it work? Okay. And then I can kind of go from there. Right.
Yes.
But anyway, I'd probably come in here now and go, I need a, you know, there's like little, I just noticed there's like little systems that sort of swirl around. So I might get a little of that. And I might even use that as a stylistic thing. You know, because you always read about these planets where they go, oh, they got methane clouds, you know, so they're not necessarily always have to be white or anything, you know, they, whatever they're, that's a little better. Start to mix it up a little, you know, and I might even now, see, this is what happens. Then I might come in here and go, well, that feels like a little hurricane. So maybe I'll start to put that little, build it around like they do with a hurricane or like a hurricane does. And these aren't pure white, you know, they're, I just took the blue, I kind of think of you looking at through atmosphere and things like that, and I cooled it down a little bit and pulled it up, but it's a cool white. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I'd soften the edge. So I'm just gonna do this for quickness. Hang on, I don't want that. I want, there we go. Where's this? Oh, that's kind of cool. That's a backer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. This I might dial down a little bit. So it's, what happens is if it gets so dissipated, I'm sort of losing the sense of atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you guys, this isn't about, it's not about here's how you create a space scene. It's about here's how we use abstraction and brush control to create an image. That's all it's about. Okay. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about another brush thing that's really useful. And I did a quick demo yesterday because I was thinking about it. And I just did a little, like 15-minute demo, but I just picked a person. So I just did a quick little portrait, right? And the reason I did that is to mix it up here. And still we're applying the same ideas now, but I just did it with a, I'm not going to require you guys to do a portrait. I just use that as an example, okay? To start talking about this next tool we're going to start talking about, okay? Which is a really valuable tool. So I'm going to go here. Go here. And then I'm going to go back to our filter. I just don't want it, you know. Looks like it's got to get a little bigger, actually. So let's do this. Oops. Wait, that's not mine. Oh, here's mine right here. So let's go here. I'm just going to go a little bigger. and just soften it. You know, because that atmosphere is contained around the planet, right? Because once you go beyond that, there is no atmosphere, right? It's just space. Okay. And then here again, I would probably build this. So I'm going to go in a big way. Oops. And I've got to think of it. So I'm going to grab a little more of this. Let's go to a different brush. Did you guys get these Greg Rukowski brushes?
Yes.
I really like them. I haven't really used them that much. I really like them. And again, I like them because I can assign these interesting brushes to like erasers, smudges. It gives me a whole nother tool set that way. And what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to apply it to that. So I'm looking for a nice, marquee brush. And then I'm going to take some of this. Maybe even just go really, really warm. Or down here, maybe. I don't know if this will work or not. Let's try it. Yeah. And then I'm going to dissipate all this out. Come on. Oops. What the hell was that? I grabbed the wrong tool. There we go. Really big because I want to scatter this quite a bit. And I'm going to do a couple of things here. Well, just real simple things. So I want to start making a little bit of a statement with this cloudy stuff. Does that make sense?
Yes.
This orange is pretty strong, so I probably wouldn't leave it, but I'm going to for the sake of this, right? Yeah, I don't know, maybe. Actually, I like that little cluster in there. It's kind of interesting. I like it when it clusters like that. It looks like a little star, whatever you call that. Oops. Whatever you call it. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get a few soft edges. Just so I get a variety of, again, a variety of edges. That's all right. And sometimes I'll kind of drag them out a little bit. And then I want to go back to your thing here. I think it's here. Yeah. I want to kind of soften that edge too. So when I'm using a big smudge, it's sort of, that's getting a little too uniform. That's okay for now. Okay. You know, and then again, I'd probably just go back and do the same thing we talked about last time and go. So if I lock this layer right here, lock transparent layer, then maybe I can take a little bit of my, I don't want this brush now. I want to, I don't know. Let's see what this does. I think I want a soft brush. Because all I want to do is just kiss this with a little bit of color. So it's, I got my lock transparent pixels on. Now I'm going to go, oops, yeah. I'm going to lower the opacity of this brush. And I can sort of paint on a little bit of this and start to mix. And why am I doing that? Because I want to vary my color a little bit. Yeah.
Yes.
Like I'm always looking to vary shapes and colors and value. Okay. So it just gives it a little more. I'd probably take this because it's on its own layer. This little burst here. Let me get rid of this. Come on. Because this way, if I take it, even that's kind of cool. So you can just do mistakes and you're like, that's kind of cool. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so look, I'm going to pull it down here. I clipped it really stupid, but that's okay. This should be on its own layer without these clouds, but that's all right. Because then I can come in here and go, you know, do I like that? Should it be a little desaturated? Probably does need to be a little desaturated. You know, do I want to see if there's another color that works nice? I kind of like that. You know, so maybe I'll just leave it there. So it's not so screaming saturated. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And one other thing, I'd probably come in here. And go. So let's go from here up. Hopefully this will work. Good enough. I might come in here probably just with my blur tool or something. And soften this edge on the planet. Yeah?
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to look cut out. It's at 100, normal. Yeah, normal. You know, and there's a lot of ways I can do that, but this just allows me to sort of paint it. You know, and I just soften it. So we didn't do that much to it, but it kind of plussed it up a little, yeah?
It looks way better.
Well, that's just
It
experience,
looks
though.
nice.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I like it a lot. Mhm.
It's really just experience. I mean, you can't know all this stuff if you haven't done it a lot, right?
Actually, my first time. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's good. You know?
Mhm.
Like right here is bugging me right there. You know, and then whatever else I do. Lens flare or whatever. Okay, good. Any other questions?
No, you answered all my questions. Thank you.
Casey Cosgrove. Ooh, that looks pretty good.
Why'd you have to say my name that way?
Why not?
Mike Sheehan.
I like that. What do you think?
I think it went pretty well-ish. I didn't add a ring, but I
Yeah,
wasn't really
you didn't have
planning to. Okay, yeah, cool.
Okay, I really love this stuff. Like the big cratery looking stuff.
I just painted those in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of good texture. It's lit nice. This is nice. This little broken edge is nice. Might have put a little more gassy stuff in there, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Again, you can kind of do the lens flare thing on a black background on another layer. And it's like once in a while I'll have a problem with it, but not too often. So what I do usually is go, let's see. So I go, let's put this up here. And I'll go filter, render, lens flare. No, I have to go now.
That's why I put it on the background, because it gave me,
Yeah.
I was going to put it on a separate layer, but it was like, no, you
So I'm
can't.
going to go filter, render, lens flare. And this will tell me sort of where I am. So let's just say it's going to be here. And go, okay. And then I'm just going to go get rid of that. And then I'm going to go up here. See if I can do it like this. Oops. Go filter, render, lens flare. And then, so usually darken will do it, but let's see if we can find a better one. That's not too bad. Lighten. So I can find an overlay that'll let me do it on another layer if I do it on black. And the reason I do it, I run it through once, is it gives me the preview so I can place it. And then it's going to place it in the same spot, but now I got it on another layer. Because I hate that you can't do it on another layer. You know what I mean? It's a pain in the ass. But if you do it like this, it's fine. You know? And then I could also, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I should have done that, but I don't know. I didn't think of it. Yeah.
No, this is obviously too uniform, but let's see if we can go. You can see you can get a little motion blur in there. You can change the angle. Or we could go filter, blur. Let's do a radial blur. So it gives you this little thing. So if I pump it, that's how much of it applies. Too much. But I might use this to give myself a little bit of variation. Oh, I'm on motion blur. Hang on. I want to be on radial blur. This one doesn't give you a preview for some reason. So all these different things. So I might use those just to kind of vary a few things and come back in and pop the middle of it, maybe do a flare on it. I could also take probably like a regular brush. Let's see, maybe this one. Oops, way too much. So let's pull the strength down. So I'm just using it as a smudge to give myself and put a little more strength on it.
Could you create a lens flare brush?
Yeah, you probably could. Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay.
So I'm just using the smudge to pull this out.
Nice. So you're creating a starburst, basically. Yeah.
And I like doing it that way. It's fine to do something that's uniform, and that's fine too. But sometimes I like, especially if I'm doing something like this, I want to go in and vary things a little bit. Now the angle, like if you have this, just so you know, if I do this, like on normal things, if I put a starburst like that, everything in the image has to follow that same lean, okay? But this looks nice. I can't help it. I always have to do this. Where'd it go? Oh, it's locked. See, like that's cool right there.
That's really cool. I really like the orange. Wow.
Look at that. And I just desaturated a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it is you can do like, one thing that's so much fun to me about building images this way, or, digitally, is like how much you can just keep iterating like endlessly. You know what I mean? When you're doing this in paint, you can do a little of that, but nothing like this. You know what I mean? You're not going to paint the whole thing and go, hey, I think I'm going to do a big glaze over that planet. See if orange works. Because then it's like, well, okay, now you're stuck with it, man. You know what I mean? All right. Any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
It looks good. Okay, where are you at?
I'm here.
Where are you?
I'm here, Dimitri.
Oh, there you are. Okay. It's not bad. What do you think?
I had a lot of fun with it yesterday.
Yeah, it's cool. God darn it. Hang on. I don't know why that's doing that. Okay. The thing I'd say is probably with these sort of striated things, I might have tried to give them a little more sort of feeling of wrapping around a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or I might have just varied them because it reminds me of Jupiter. Let's go up here for a second. Ooh, you got a lot of layers. That's good. Look at that, Casey, all organized in folders.
Very proud.
That's good.
A+.
That is really good. I might come up here and just sort of do a, let's get another brush. Let's try one of these again. We'll use your selection here. And I might kind of sort of build that sort of Jupiter-y kind of idea into it. You know, where the things are sort of wrapping around the planet. Just to give it some variation. You know, and kind of pull this line idea around it a little more prominently. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you're making that statement, so I might just reiterate it a little bit. What I'm going to do is, of course, I'm thinking that eye of whatever you call it, Jupiter. Just get a little more information. As it goes down, I'd probably kind of go, let it sort of wrap down as it's dropping down, maybe even up here, same thing. I don't want it to get too uniform. Just something I'm always fighting. You know, and just add a little of that in there. And then I might, in the center of this, sort of build. No, let's go back in with your lighter thing. The heck's taking so long? Oops, that's a little too much. Hang on. You know, just a little bit of that business, right?
Yeah.
Looks pretty good though. I like this. It's like dark planet down here. I might vary some of that a little bit, but that's about it. And also I might just go, I think, oops, wrong one. Oops. I think I'd make this more prominent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, because you want to make sure that you're populating where you're filling up the space. It's like, you know, you don't want to have a big space and a little shape, little shape, little shape, little shape, little shape. You know what I mean? Yeah?
Yep.
Questions?
No, I think I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay, good. Oh, my back is all screwed up for some reason. Okay, who's this?
Right here. How are you?
What do you think?
I'm thinking I could have been a little more ambitious with the planet. I guess it became incidental. I wasn't really trying to go for that, but it just sort of started forming itself.
I think there's a certain, if you, when you do this a long time, you actually want it to feel like it's painting itself. I don't want to feel like I'm really controlling it all that much. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now it needs a background, obviously. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would get some, you're getting some things on here like this. It's kind of interesting. Even that you could justify as something in the atmosphere or whatever. But I would manage these. See, we got a lot of softness going on here, which I don't think is bad, but I think it needs to be balanced off with a few harder edges. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'd probably skip over this with a real dry brush just over that mass right there, maybe. But there's some cool things like the way this dissipates almost like a beach. And that kind of stuff is really cool. Like it feels like it's going underwater. I think I'd just put some of it here, maybe throw a couple of clouds over this stuff and it'd probably be fine. And a background. Yeah?
Yeah. So
You cut out.
I asked, do I rework that then?
You can if you want. You know, I think it's good for you to do it. I mean, we're going to move forward and stuff. But the main thing with this, you guys, is that you got to go and just do this and do this and do this. Okay. You can't do this. You're going to forget all of it. Okay. And also you got to put it into practice really fast. Okay. And the reason I'm really big on this is that all this stuff we're doing in here is going to feed everything you're doing. Okay. It hopefully will raise up the sophistication level of what you're doing. Okay. And if you haven't gotten in digital painting yet, I want you to be aware of all these things. Okay. It's really important. Okay. I know I'm always harping on this edge thing and all this stuff, and I'll harp on certain things all the time because it's a very fundamental idea. And it's a very fundamental idea that if you don't get it, your work is just not really ever going to elevate to a really pro looking level. Does that make sense? You know, and again, you've got to, like, you can't, if you don't know how to do this sort of thing, then you go in with these kind of things and they're sitting there trying to paint every little thing, and it doesn't work. You guys have probably already learned that. Okay. It's sort of this thin to thick building up thing, whether it's digital or traditional, and these edges, and then letting the brush sort of, just like you do in real life, you know, you throw a dry brush. Like if I was doing this continent right here, like I just said, I just load up a brush with hardly any terp or water on it. So it's just almost pure pigment. And I just drag it right across the surface and let it break up over the surface. It's the same thing. Okay. You're always trying to let your tools do the work. Okay. Or if you see somebody who's really good at painting, they'll be painting a portrait and they're way back here on the brush and they're just, boom, just flicking little things and softening an edge. Those are the people that really got it down. Okay. And it really elevates your work. Now, again, if you want to go into a much more rendered style, that's cool. You know, that's your business, you know. But I think I would argue it even informs that. It does. Okay. Okay, here we go. Where are you at?
Right here.
Okay, what do you think?
Well, like I said earlier, I went down this rabbit hole and I stayed there for a while with all the brushes and smudges and stuff. But finding this particular smoke one and a watercolor brush
Oh,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
planet. Could you repeat that?
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. And of course, the color, picking the color. Which way to go? Is it going to be one of those, you know, is it going to be very earthy? Is it going to be gassy? You know, stuff like that. So I find myself getting a little stuck in decisions. But I said, no, the heck with this. Just put something on there and start messing with all these ones.
That's kind of what you got to do. I agree with that.
Right on.
What I'd probably come in here and I'd break up a few of these shapes in there so it's not all soft.
Okay.
Like I wouldn't leave it like that either. I'd still go in and manipulate it, but I tend to break these up. You know, I just want to get different edges again,
So
right? Go ahead.
it's a 300 DPI, so it does. I did notice that it takes a little bit
Yeah.
for it to like.
So let's go Option Command I. Why is it taking so long? Well, it's still thinking. Hang on. Another thing I think you could do here. So let's drop this down to 72. Hopefully it's not too small. Come on. Yeah, that's fine. Now we're at 72. Okay, one thing I might do here again is I'd probably come in here and break this up. Oops, I'm on the wrong way. A little bit more. I like a lot of these edges. I just want to give it a few different little varieties here.
Okay.
And then I probably again come in here and go, maybe just with a lighter, let's try a lighter value. And I want to lock this layer so I can sort of paint over it. Let's see if I can get a more interesting brush. Why is that not painting? That's weird. Where are we at? Oh, I'm on smudge. So let's go back. Let's try this one. I think that's that same one I already used. I'm going to drop the opacity on this. And I might just sort of vary that color and kiss it a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And then I might go, I don't know. I mean, the thing with the planet thing, it's kind of fun is there's just so many endless colors in it. You can just keep screwing with it. Let's go really bluish. Let's try this.
I struggled with the atmosphere around the planet and in getting the layer behind it, filling it. For whatever reason, my Photoshop was not responding to that, and
Only what?
it wasn't responding to filling the planet in the back, so I could create that atmospheric glow, and it was just very choppy. It was very choppy. The
That's
Photoshop.
probably because you're at 300.
Yeah, I think that's what exactly.
For
that's,
these
that's what
things,
it was.
you don't need to you don't need to go 300. Let's see if we can find this brush real quick. I think I put it right. No, I didn't. Hang on. Oh, here. So again, I'm going to come in here and grab this one. Don't make that, it's too big.
Yeah, I uploaded I added some more of those. That same one, the Kyle splatter around there, a little cosmic dust.
Yeah, when I'm looking at it's because when I look at these things, they always have this. Apparently, whatever is formed out of these clouds. I guess it
Yeah.
pulls everything in and it forms a planet or whatever.
Mhm.
So I like these little star clusters in it.
Star clusters. Okay.
You'll see it all the time.
Yeah.
So I just take advantage of it.
I think I spend more time in observation, looking at pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Something I
And then I
don't
might
do.
shrink this. Maybe have a burst in here. Oop, too much. Sometimes they seem like they have this hot spot in them. Oops. All right, maybe I'll just. So again, this Greg Rakowski brushes, I can shift them into a smudge
Okay.
or an eraser, and it's really nice to have the eraser because you might want to erase off a rough edge or something, and you can use that as an eraser. It's really nice. You can reassign these to a lot of different things because a lot of brushes you can't. You know, I was just watching something. Somebody goes, "You can assign any brush you want to this thing," and I go, "No, you can't do that." I mean, you could assign a lot of them, but not all of them. So anyway, you know, just give it a little more interest. I'd probably pull it down here. Now I'm going to unlock this. Did I unlock it? Oh, that's not the lock layer. This is. You know, pull some of this out probably. I don't want it like that, but you know. And then, you know, here I'd probably give this a little bit of let's try it. Where is it? Here. Let's grab this and this. Just get a regular brush. I gotta kind of control this. So let's just grab some of that. And I'm gonna really half-ass this, but you'll get the point. Yeah, again, I did it before in the demo. I did this with the gradient or whatever. So I'm gonna do that, and then I want to see if I can get it darker. Oops, am I on the same layer? Oh, crap, I'm on the same layer. Sorry. I don't want to be on the same layer. Because I want to give it some sense of, so it doesn't just feel like a disc. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Okay.
So I'm going to go here for now. I'm just going to soften this up. I might be able to just blur this. Let's see. And I'll still have to manipulate it, but that's not terrible. And then let's go here and go. Where is it? Let's get a soft edge. Soften that up. And I probably might neutralize it a little more or even darken it. Let's go here. And then I'm probably, you know, once I dialed it in, which I'm not going to go through all that yet, but once I dial it in, that's when I'm probably going to come over like on this side of the planet. Oops. Because it's nice to get it. What's creating a core usually is light here, like, you know, like if you have a sphere and it's on the table, getting light here, and then the light's bouncing here and lighting up this side, and then the shadow gathers.
Yeah.
It's being lit this way and this way, right? So I might try and take advantage of that and get, I don't know, let's get a really brighter value here. And usually I'll use a different color here just to vary it, you know, like a cool against all this or something like that, but I'm not going to do it here. And maybe just pull that like that, you know, and kind of get it lit a little bit, right?
Okay.
And again, I'd probably come in here and make sure I'm managing my edges here and get a little more surface information, and I'd soften this disc a little bit. Yeah.
Right on.
And I don't know, you'd have to look at Mars. It'd be interesting to, or not just Mars, I guess what I think determines the atmosphere is obviously what the chemical makeup and all that of it is. But it'd be interesting to know if Mars, I think has an atmosphere, right? Or not a very strong one, but it has an atmosphere. To see what its glow is, like, because it's a reddish planet, you know, does it throw off a reddish, you know, atmosphere? Or is it, well, the atmosphere is made out of this, so it's not going to do that. You know, I don't know. You know, now when you're doing this, to a certain extent, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's like when people are complaining, like they come out with movies all the time. People go, well, that culture didn't do that. And it's like, it's a cartoon. What are you talking about? They're using it as a jumping off point. You know what I mean? They're not making a documentary.
Okay.
You know, and I might throw a little more, you know, and back here for sure, just to populate it. Damn it, I can't grab that. There. Just to populate back here, it's just an instant depth thing. So let's go here again. You know, I get some stars going on back there. Right?
Definitely, yeah.
And again, if you notice, I'm getting too big a blob here. I don't really want them that big. So I can shrink this. Hang on. I can shrink this. Where'd my zoom go? There it is. Okay. What I was talking about. Shrink this brush so I'm not getting such big hits. Still a little big. But what happens here is I might get too much clustery stuff, which I might like in some spots. But again, I might come into here and go to, let's see, shape dynamics. Let's try scattering. That's weird that it's not pulling them. Yeah, there it goes. Then pull them apart. So then, you know, now they're spraying them around and I can get that smaller.
Bits everywhere.
Yeah, without it looking like big water drops or something, you know. Now some of those, you know, I might put a few of those in and then a few of those, and then I'll come back in and I'll either take my eraser or my smudge and knock some of them out. Like this one I don't like. I probably would take that out with my eraser. You know, and I'll just sort of take out a few of them here and there if I feel like they don't work.
Yeah.
Because I am always trying to manage shapes. right? You got, once you get into color and everything and painting and all that sort of thing, you're juggling a lot of balls in there because you got value, shape relationship, sizes, placement, composition, temperature, value shifts, temperature shifts, color shifts, like on and on and on. Edges, thickness of paint, all that stuff, right? So you're starting to juggle a lot of stuff, which is why it's nice to start with full value, which we'll talk about when we get into color, and concentrate there and then apply color. Because then you're just concentrate on a really solid structural painting. Does that make sense?
Right on.
What the old masters did. They did the same thing.
Cool. Thank you very much, Mike.
Okay. Has anybody been to LACMA lately?
It's I'm originally from Los Angeles, so I would be there a lot, especially for like the jazz stuff in the
Oh
summer.
yeah, that's fun.
It's been about 2 years that I haven't because I've been
cool.
out here in Orange County. So
Okay, well, who's this? Kevin, where you at?
I'm here.
I love these little light blue patches on here. That looks nice. Oh, and
Yeah.
this too? That's cool. What do you think?
Yeah, for those I just like keep like experimenting with brushes until I found something I liked.
Yeah, those are great. I love
so
that dark patch over here, then it warms up on the top. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice, man. I
Thank
get a
you.
little more funky with the gas in here and there. I like all this, but I might put one more layer over that's a little more defined. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. But man, this surface looks great.
Thank you.
Love that. I think I know this brush right here. Like there's a planet that looks just like that. Did you see it?
No, I don't really like look at planets.
It got this, it's got that kind of scratchy surface. I can't remember what planet it is, but it kind of looks like that. Then here, by the way, you could go, if you wanted to vary this, you could also lock this off. And sort of warm up part of it if you want, or cool it down, or whatever you want to do. And it won't go outside of that area. I like to vary it a little bit because I go, well, if there's something generating it out here, that's too orange. Generating something out here, it'll go hotter, just like we talked about with flames, hotter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I might play around with that. I don't really like this brush. And I could vary it a little bit. But other than that, that's it. Any questions?
No, I was like thinking about how like some of the stars are too big, but you went over that already.
Somewhat.
So some of my stars are like too big, like you said.
Actually, I don't think they're too bad here. Because you do want some that are bigger. Yeah, but you know what I do sometimes with those? And it's that twinkly thing that gets a nice twinkle, because some of them are closer, and especially like in a weird, whatever this is. I don't know if this brush will work, but let's try it. Oh, it's locked. I'm gonna go on another layer. Let's try this round. I think the round will throw it down a little easier. So let's go. I just pulled that color. I'm going to go pretty bright. And I'll take some of the bigger ones. Just here and there. And I'll put a little dot in the center. Again, hotter, right?
Yeah.
And it'll give them a little bit of sparkle. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it feels like when you look at the night sky, there's some that are closer or further and some that are sort of blinking. And it just gives it the sky, it gives it this depth, right?
Yeah.
So just doing that helps. Oops, there goes my good old Wacom. I have to look this up and see if there, maybe I need an update or something. Okay, so that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Where's Lily? Ooh, that's fun. Where are you at? You
Right.
here?
Yes.
What do you think?
Here. I spent a lot of time on it.
Good.
It was hard to find brushes that aligned with what I wanted to do.
Then you make them.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I kind of just scrolled through all the brushes that you gave us.
I think for now that's a good idea
Yeah.
because it's like for me, it's like with that many brushes, I
Mhm.
don't make them that often because at least not for like just brushes. You know what I mean? I'll
Right.
make a specific brush to go scatter a leaf around or something like that, or foliage or whatever. But for just painting textures and things like that, I've got enough. I don't really need to make
Yeah.
that many of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wanted to do more like of that crater look, but I couldn't really get it to work.
Crater, you're going to have probably an edge.
Uh-huh.
You're going to have an edge that defines it.
Right.
So you're probably going to have a I don't know if that edge would be lit because it's coming from inside. Like if you looked at volcano, I'm assuming the edge would be lit because it's getting
Yeah.
illuminated from inside, and then it would quickly drop off probably to darker. Especially when you have something. Well, I know it does it with a backlit thing. If you have something very backlit, it's going to go into silhouette, right? So it might be some of that. It might be some of this, like this stuff leading up to it.
Mhm.
So it has a little more of a moundy kind of feel,
Yeah.
you know, and you got to be careful, you know, to make sure you're not getting the perspective all funky like I'm probably doing here,
Mhm.
you know, and then I just give it a little edge. That's probably all it really needs. Like even out here, maybe it might just need an edge out here,
Mhm.
you know, to sort of define it as a like
Yeah.
a cratery kind of idea. Now, whenever I'm looking at something like that and I'm not quite sure, I just go look it up. You know, craters from space or volcanoes from space, volcanoes on whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just for
But I
reference.
mean, you can get reference for just about anything
Right.
now, which is awesome. Okay. And then the only other thing I'd say about that is like maybe, let's see if I can do it. No, can't do that. What I'd probably do is I'd have made one of these like maybe a little bigger.
Mhm.
So they're not like maybe this one pulls together into one bigger one and then, you know, kind of drifts
Yeah.
off.
I did think that they were all like a bit too uniform.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can have a lot of small ones, but you want to have a bigger shape in there. You
Yeah.
want to be careful that you don't just have little shapes all over the place, right?
Mhm.
Or all big shapes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd probably manipulate this edges a little bit. I like the planet though. I like the little whatever
Mhm.
volcano-y things. And this, I just manipulate my edges a little more on the gas, but that's it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. You guys got a lot of layers going. I like that. It's really good. Okay, where's Marriott?
That's me.
What do you think?
Well, I spent several hours loading Photoshop and all the brushes onto a new computer.
Oh,
and
good.
I'm really happy that the brushes work now.
Oh, good. That's great.
And yeah, so I'm really happy with how I was able to like make the brushes do what I wanted them to do.
I probably soften some of that in here, like just manipulate it. Whenever I'm doing something, it's interesting because when you're watching people do clouds or things like that, it looks so sort of random. You know what I mean? But you're really thinking about those edges and how the light's hitting it and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So here, I'd probably just pull that out a little and manipulate it a little. It's pretty good. There's a far planet. This is pretty good. And then I like this little, again, that scrapey thing, but I think I would have danced it around a little more. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because it, again, I've seen, I mean, it's just probably because I've seen planets like that look sort of like that. But if I'm going to do this, I'd probably want to make sure I make a statement with it.
I've noticed on these projects that, I mean, I could spend 15 hours on it and just, and I have to tell myself to stop.
Yes.
I just can't spend that much time on my projects.
Well, what I'd like for you to do when you're done with this class is to go down that rabbit hole.
Uh-huh.
Because I think it's really valuable. And I think, again, I don't know any other way to learn other than to go, okay, I kind of understand this now. Now I'm going to, you know, maybe do something, you know, that's more in the realm of what you like to do or whatever. But you've got to do it over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get used, you know, obviously you get used to it. Okay.
Yeah,
Any questions?
I had a question. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the thing rotating around the planet, is there a way you can like do an ellipse selection and then maybe make a channel out of it that you could paint within the channel?
Well, if you want to paint on this, you could just go lock transparent pixels. So if I wanted to paint on this, not on anything else, I would just lock it right here.
Uh-huh.
And then if I go, let's go really bright.
Okay, so if I did the stroke wide enough, I could pretty much just paint whatever I wanted, or erase or smudge or.
Yeah, see, I'm just painting on that.
Okay.
So let's flip it. But like it's kind, you know, it's kind of how I created the one originally. I'm going, and I don't even have to line it up that much at this point. I could go there, and then I can just go edit. Blah, blah, blah. I think it's under edit. Why am I, oh, there it is, stroke. Here's my width. I just go boom. And then once I do that, you know, I could use a different brush or whatever, but then I could just adjust it from here.
Okay.
We should probably, oh, look at that. That's interesting. That brush has dimension to it, so it gave it that. I'd have to use a round if I just want to keep that consistent. You know, you can, there's a million ways to do it. You could create a path if you want to get more intricate with it. Then you could stroke the path, but I usually just activate the path, make it a selection, then stroke the selection, you know. And I'm always going to have the path sitting in the paths palette anyway, so I can always go back to it. But that's kind of how I usually do it. But you can stroke a path too, okay?
Okay.
But again, usually if I create a complex path, I can just make it a selection and do the same thing. And for me, it just, that works pretty good for me.
And
Go ahead.
I also uploaded the reactive brushes because I was having problems, and
Okay.
once I uploaded everything to the new computer, it worked. And so I wanted to just show you that I got it to work.
Okay. All right. Who's this? This is
That
Melissa.
one's mine.
What do you think?
Actually, I had really fun with this one.
Good. Now, let's look at, I like that. I like the way that's swirling around it. Okay, I'm gonna leave that one. I'm looking for this blue one. There it is. There it is. I might manipulate this a little more. What's going on here? Oh, it's locked.
Usually when I try to select something, it moves something else, so I had to lock it.
Yeah, for some reason. Oh,
Oh, it's the file.
yeah, it's like an
folder?
access. There's some kind of access thing here. I'm gonna try something here.
It's the group. You have to unlock the group because it's under the folder.
Oh, I didn't see that.
There you go.
You also took out the cat.
The what?
There's a little space cat.
I'd probably soften these up a little bit. And I like these little broken up parts, like right here. Like these little bits that are covering over it. But I think I just manipulate some of these edges. Gosh darn it. What happened? There it is. There it is. Oh, I see. Some of them are on a different layer. But, you know, that's about it, though. Yeah, I just manage some of these edges a little bit. Soften up a couple of edges, and that's probably it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Questions?
Is was it the sun? Is it good or?
This one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
The cool thing about that render thing, I mean, you could just do the little flare too, but I like it when it does that classic like burst and then it comes down like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
You see it like wildlife films all the time. But yeah. Oh man, my back's killing me, man. Ooh, look at that one. Where you at?
I'm right here.
So how did this cratered thing happen?
I took the texture off the moon
I can barely hear you.
overlay and then softened it. Because the first time I wasn't happy with the way I painted it. So I just went and painted it on top of it.
Wait, so is this an image or is this painted?
The crater is a texture. So it's an image.
Okay, so I want you to go back and do one that's all completely done with brush.
Oh, just brush. Okay.
Okay. I mean, this is fine. There's ways you could do that kind of thing. I get it. But I want to make sure that you know how to use the brush. I like this little fiery thing coming out over here. But again, I might go. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I might pull it down a little bit. Yeah, more like that. And it highlights a little bit of that same texture, which is kind of nice. And it's the same one manipulated, right?
I did. I made it smaller.
And then all this back here is all brush, correct?
Yes.
Well, this is nice up here.
Well, no, there's a asteroid and then there's brushwork. So it's got both.
Yeah, you want to do this whole thing brush.
Just all brush. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we can just turn off 2 layers, the nebula and the.
Now, the reality is, sometimes you are going to do that. Okay. Sometimes you are going to take a texture and it speeds up the process and it's fine. Okay. But I want to make sure you know how to manipulate the brushes.
Oh, okay.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and create them and all that stuff. But other than that, yeah, it's weird. I don't want to use the move tool. Okay. That's all brush. Oh, nebula. That's the one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then brush, brush, brush. Okay. Because this stuff back here, it's pretty simple to create, you know?
Yeah, I did the first one with the brush and then I put just as an overlay. So I just wanted to, I couldn't figure out how to give it more depth, the darkness.
Stars. Stars will add sort of depth to it right off the bat. You know, if I go in here, or it's going to help it a lot. grab my, yeah, let's grab this. Again, that's probably too big. There you go. You know what I mean?
Mm. Throw more color in there too. Okay.
Yeah. And you know, and then again, I can come in here and go, do I like it that blue? I kind of do actually. But if I didn't, I come in here, maybe desaturate it a little bit. Could darken a little bit. So I can darken that, let's say, and then go, I'm going to do another layer over that layer. And that's going to be my kind of variation of, you know, stars or whatever. I'm going to come in here and knock out some of these. So I don't want them dominating everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
So you can see it starts to add a little bit of depth to it. Because it's sort of giving you, stars are sort of giving you, when you pinpoint them here and there, all this stuff, you're sort of giving the viewer that that idea that something's closer and things are further. Because in space, it's a little weirder, like we've talked about. I mean, you can cheat it, you can sort of give it some perspective or atmosphere or whatever, but in theory, it doesn't have any, right? Now, I don't know how that works. We talked about this last time. I don't know how that works if you're going into like these places that have all that gaseous stuff all over the place. If that just, I guess that would create atmosphere. Okay, who's this? Where you at? Tom.
Yeah, I'm here.
What do you think?
I think I probably should have made it some colors that's not green.
Well, you could just go, you can, here's the thing, man. You can always go in here. Let's see if I can do it from here. Oops. Here. I'm just going to link these for now. You could always go in here once you throw down. I do this all the time. I throw down a color and then I go, well, do I need it that bright? And I might desaturate it a little bit. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. Hang on. Come on. And I'm going to desaturate it a little bit. You know, I could do that. You know, I could, again, I could run through here and go, do I want to use a different color? Desaturate it. You know, there's a lot of things I can do here. But once a lot of times I just throw color down and then I manipulate it. Yeah. I like this back here. And then I just manage, again, a few edges just to make sure that they feel right. And then some stars, yeah?
Yeah.
And I give this surface a little bit of texture. You
Mhm.
started to, yeah, you started to a little bit, you know, but even if I just come in here and break up an edge. Let's do this. Hopefully this will work. If I just come in here and break up a couple of edges, you know, I don't like that. It's a little too much. But, and I'd have to come back in here and manipulate it a little more, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but, and then, you know, I'd probably just come in here and then soften a few things. Just touch it. Leave a few of the soft edges. Maybe paint over it with a texture brush a little here and there. I don't like that. Kind of like that right there. So I might come in here and just find me a texture brush and just knock in a little bit of texture and then manipulate that. Yeah?
Yeah.
What's this? Oops. No, I don't want that. Okay, questions?
No.
Okay.
Okay, actually, where can I find the brushes you're using? Like the smudge texture brush.
Which one?
Like this, the smudge brushes.
They're all right here. I gave them to you guys. You haven't got them?
No. Well, I probably have them, but I didn't look over them.
Yeah, load those up. Those are good brushes.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I pretty much do everything with like 2 of those, 2 or 3, you know, once in a while I go and use a different one, but I mean, I use the same ones more over and over, and I can vary the edges enough where you really can't really tell that much.
Okay.
And again, I can take some brushes, and we're going to talk about another angle on this today, but I can also take certain brushes like those Greg Gakowski brushes, which have nice textures, and I can switch those over and use them as a smudge. Okay. And
Okay.
you know, there's a lot of brushes in there you can do that with, but pretty much all the ones I've looked at his are like that. Did you guys watch a video of him painting?
A little bit.
Straightforward, right? Big shapes, and he works in the shapes. Okay. All right, so all that makes sense right now, right? What we're doing? Okay, good. So we're just going to start talking. Yeah, I got enough time. About the mixer brush, okay? Which is sort of an underused tool, I think. And then you get people who are really using the hell out of it. Like, let me find these. Like this. Okay. A lot of kind of what we're talking about there, and then we'll start talking about the mixer brush. There's a lot of that going on in here. Okay. This guy gets them to a level where when you first look at them, it's pretty hard to tell they're not oil. Does that make sense? Really nice, right? If you like that kind of thing, and I do. I pulled a couple of these. It's the same one. Yeah. I mean, at a glance, if I looked at that, I just think it's an oil painting. Okay. A lot of mixer brush, broken angles, just what we're talking about. Okay. This is a really great one. You know, and what I love about this kind of thing is you see how he uses textures in here. Number one, once you go, he gives you like this, but when you get past that, back to here, it's pure abstraction. Okay, that's why it works. Okay, and then what he's doing, just so you know, when you're doing an image like this, the reason all that abstraction works, and if you look over here, it's very abstract over here. And I found some, and you can see right here, look at that texture he put on the wall right there. It's just a brush. Okay, but the reason it kind of works is because you go, okay, he gave you this guy pretty formed out, this guy, this flag, you know, he gives you little things popping out that you go, oh, it's a bunch of people. And your brain goes whoop, and it fills it all in. Okay. And then that's what gives it this sense of motion and dynamism. Does that make sense? Anyway, this guy's a monster. This is a nice one here. Like very oily. And then if you look at some of these, this is Craig Mullins.
And this is digital, right?
These are all digital.
Oh, okay.
To me, like, that's a nice thing to shoot for. You know, that really fluid painting, you know. I just like this here because it's sort of a block in, right? It just gives you a nice look at sort of a block in, okay? Where I could come in over this and start to manipulate and give it that oily feel and all that kind of thing, right? Like, you know, this is a very hard edge here. I'd probably soften that, so on and so forth, right? But I just love the way it's blocked in. And I love these little temperature shifts here. You know, there's little temperature shifts all over look at that. Okay. Just nice stuff. Look at that. It goes bluish as you go back. Really nice. Craig Mullins is a total monster. Again, a lot of abstraction here. Okay. A lot of brush stuff. And I like this one because you can see how he knocks this stuff in right here before he manipulates it. He just sort of left it, right? So he's just building all that stuff. It's really interesting that he really gives you what he needs and sort of backs off of everything he doesn't need, which is really nice. Okay. I just thought this one was cool. Again, look at all these little temperature shifts. That's what makes that look interesting. What people will do is they'll hone in on like this gray metal color, and they'll do the whole thing like that. And it's like, that doesn't look right. You gotta vary that stuff. Okay. And you can just go, which it looks like a little bit what he did here. You could go, I got this bluish thing. Then I'm going to knock it over to this little more ochery warm thing. And then I can knock it down to maybe a purpley kind of thing. And they're very close together and vary that surface a little. Okay. Which he's doing all over the place in here. And then this guy I just found recently, but I really like his stuff. Let's see what that is. Oh, another dragon one. This guy. Just really interesting stuff. Okay. A lot of brush stuff. Okay. This, I think, is a really great example of just sort of simple. He threw in that silhouette and then he just went in and broke it up, and then just went in and started doing what we talked about before with that sort of brush and scale idea, and just knocked in some stuff to make it look very complex. This is not that complicated. Okay. I just thought this is cool. I might even use that for a demo a little bit. That's cool. Just really nice stuff. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm always trying to pitch. Yeah. So this brush, and all I'm going to want you to do today is start to play with this thing. Okay, it's really one of these ones where you're going to have to start learning how it all, because everything in it sort of relates to each other in a weird way. I think it's a weird way. So I'm going to go, I'm just going to fill this with a neutral. I'm just going to go and probably neutralize it a little more. What this brush basically does, so let's go back to our, it's right here, mixer brush, okay? And what it basically does, okay, I'm using, I think I'm using one of those Rakowski brushes. And I'm on the same layer, so let's get off this layer. Oops. I'm going to go up here, and I've got it on sample all layers, okay? So I'm going to come in here and start. And what it really does is, I've got wet at 100% right now. And you can see what it's doing right up here in this little swatch right here. What it's doing is every time I put this down, it's actually putting some color in and picking color up. So it's like taking a wet brush, a wet oil brush, into a wet surface and manipulating, right? So when you're hitting this wet thing, it's sort of like setting up a wet into wet canvas, okay? Which is a beautiful thing, okay? Let's see if I can go. Let's go. So it's intermingling with all this color, and it's also intermingling with this canvas below it because I got it on sample all layers. Okay. Now, which means I can mix and do all this stuff, but it's all on here. Okay. So it's non-destructive again. Okay. So like that image we had of the guys all walking, I go, I like that block in. I could start there, go up on the layer above it and start doing my brush work over that. Does that make sense? And really have a lot of control over it. Now, if I pull down, so let's go, flow is going to control sort of how fast the paint builds up. So see how we're getting more color now, okay? Which I don't want. So I'm going to pull, and then load is sort of how much paint is on the brush, okay? So it's just how much paint you got loaded up on your brush. Let's go way down. And it's getting less and less. Let's go. It's still pulling a little bit with that. It should drop down. So let's drop this down. Yeah. So now I'm getting just a hint of the color in there because I've dropped a load of paint down. I've got a very wet canvas. Now I'm going to pull that down. And now it's a little drier. You can see I'm pulling my brush and it's a little drier. Does that make sense? Now, here's the thing you got to understand about that. And if you look up right here, see how it's showing? It's what it's showing here is when I grab something, it's sampling that. So it's like multiple colors. Okay. Let's see if I can get it to. Yeah. See how there's more than one color in there? Okay. So it's grabbing, you know, and then once I go and grab another color, it sort of introduces that color into it too. Okay. It's a tricky brush, but once you get the hang of it, and it's whenever I talk about it, I have to sit down before class, and because I do this intuitively, but it's very much something you got to learn how to dial in. Okay, once you dial this thing in, you want to do that oily, super between this and smudge brushes and regular brushes. That's it. Okay, if you want to do all that really beautiful painterly stuff. Okay. So let's pull the wet all the way down. So now it's not really mixing with the canvas very much. So it's giving me more pure paint. Okay. It's not mixing into the canvas. So I'm going to pull that back up and let's pull flow way down. See, it's barely giving me anything now. See that? Because I got the flow pulled way down. Let's pull it up a little bit. That's nice. So when you want to get these kind of subtle things, and it's still picking from here, but it's really picking from where I'm grabbing here and changing it. It's mixing it with that color. Does that make sense? Now I should be able to go. Well, let's do this. I'm going to go. Oops, I don't want that. Clean brush. It's picking that up. I always forget these two controls right here. Okay, no. Let's see if I got it. There we go. So I've got it on clean brush. I've turned that off so it's not reloading the brush. And basically what I have now is a smudge brush. Does that make sense? Which again is a really nice thing because I can really get some nice edges here where I can pull colors into each other and all that kind of thing. There's some other setting. I mean, there's a million settings in here. There's all these settings in here. Okay. I don't want to get too far. All I want to really do with this today with you guys is just start understanding, because what can happen here is like, okay, let's say the flow's down to here. And then people go, how come it's not working? Okay. Because there's a lot of people who go, oh, the flow doesn't mean anything. You don't need that. And it's like, well, you do, obviously, because it's not doing anything. Okay. Now, also, you can have one of these, what is it, 3 controls here. Well, you have really these two. So this one here, let's see what, I always forget how it describes itself. Hang on. Clean the brush after each stroke. And this one is load the brush after each stroke. Okay. So it's doing that. Okay. If I pull down the wet mixture quite a bit, it's going to really rely more on my foreground swatch there. I don't have any flow. Oops. You know, and it's going to give me heavier paint. It's not really mixing that much with it. And if you notice in the window here also, it's not really showing that mixing of the brush thing. It's relying more on the foreground color. Does that make sense? Casey?
Yeah, I'm just trying to move along as you're doing it.
Yeah.
on
This
my
you
computer.
really got to sit down and go, the load is how much paint I've got loaded on there and how fast it's going to come off the brush. Your flow is going to be sort of your buildup of paint texture, how fast that happens.
Okay.
Your wet is just what it says. How wet is that canvas, basically? How wet into wet am I going? And then what you also got to realize is if something, all of a sudden you're like painting, nothing's happening, those three controls, these controls all work together. So just like I said, if you get the flow down enough, and you'll hear this all the time where people go, oh, the wet doesn't mean shit. Because most people don't understand this brush at all. Okay. It's a really good tool. It's great. And I would really, and it's the reason all I want you guys to do is screw around with it this time. I think there's a big value in it with this, and just get a canvas like this and just start manipulating and seeing how that all affects each other. Okay. And you got right here, you got load brush, clean brush, just cleaned it, but sometimes it'll pick up. See, it just picked up color again. Right. So I have to go, I think it's here. These two always get me confused. I don't know why. So let's go clean brush. Yeah. So now it's just a smudge brush again. It's not reloading, okay, because I have it on this one. So it's just a smudge. And then I could go, this mix, I don't hardly have any mix. So now I'm getting more mix. So let's go way up. See something's, oh, the load's at 1. There it goes. Flows at 100. I don't want that. Let's pull that down. There we go. So I had to pull the mix down, okay, to get this to sort of starting to flow together. That's what you got to learn, is how these things work together, okay? Like I said, I tend to use it very intuitively, so I always, before I'm going to talk about it, I have to like go and go, oh yeah, you do that and you do that. But again, if I don't have sample all layers on, it's only going to work on the layer I'm on, okay? If I have sample all layers on, it's going to grab everything below it and mix that together. Now, sometimes people use this to go in on a photograph, which, you know, could be good if you're doing something quickly. Hang on. Where the hell did it go? Oh, here it is. They'll come in here and they'll start manipulating. I had a student do it. I didn't even ask him to do it. And they took a forest photo we're using and just made the whole thing look like an oil painting. Does that make sense? Which, by the way, could come in really handy because people always go, oh, I'll learn how to paint. Well, what if you're a graphic designer? Somebody goes, hey, you know what? We want this to look like an oil painting. You can go in and do it. You know what I mean? You can go in and make it look like an oil painting from a photo, which is a handy thing to be able to do. And I could introduce color into this. Let's see. And let's go. I'm going to go above it. And I could very subtly start mixing. If I want to get some of this color up here reflecting into him, and I'm not doing it that subtly, but you get the point. I could start to manipulate that and get some really nice little mixed in reflected light and things like that. Does that make sense? Like, let's go. That's at 8%. Let's see what happens here. See, now it's getting way too smudgy. But you notice it's adding that blue in there pretty nicely. Does that make sense? Let's try. Let's pull the mix up. So you can see I'm overdoing it, obviously, but I could come in here and do a very stylized kind of thing in here. I want. Trying to get it. Should be picking up my other color, actually. There it goes. So you can see up here now, it's picking up what I'm grabbing. And then it's going to mix that in and change a little bit as I do it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's like painting wet into wet and oil, basically, right? Which is, again, I'm really big on this brush stuff. You know what I mean? You can't talk about this type of work. I don't care if it's entertainment design or illustration or whatever. If you're not going to elevate this stuff to sort of sophisticated looking stuff, who cares? Does that make sense? It's never going to be interesting. And by the way, every time I've ever gone, and by the way, this is a total, I think you need to know this one way or the other, but you might have somebody or stuff you like and you go, I like it. It's super rendered out. That's fine. Okay. I'm not saying that that's wrong. Okay. What I am saying is if you do want to do that, you still got to know this, because you still got to know about edges. You still got to know about all that stuff. And you still got to start the thing very loose and simple. Otherwise it's just going to get away from you very quickly. Okay. It's just going to get so, I remember when the digital thing started happening back in the 90s. And one of the reasons when I worked at Imagineering, when I first got there, I could still get away with working traditional. One of the reasons I didn't is a lot of the stuff you saw back then that was digital, and it hadn't taken over totally yet, but when the stuff that was digital was like real gradient heavy and real, I just couldn't stand the way it looked. I'm like, that stuff just looks like overly tight airbrush stuff. I hated the way it looked. And it's interesting. I'm like, I'm just working traditionally, screw it. Plus I didn't know Photoshop anyway. So, anyway, so I was working, there was another guy that came in, I was in house, and there was another guy that would come in all the time. He was freelance and really good. And he was the first guy I saw, because, I'd be working in house and I'd see a painting over by the art director's space, and I was always excited when I saw him. I'm like, wow, those are cool. And a lot of them were traditional. And, but that guy, he did everything digital, and he was already way ahead of the curve, like with what he was doing. And I remember walking in one day and he had a painting. It was up on the crit thing or on the rail on the wall. And I walked in, I go, wow, that's cool, man. And I kept walking up to it and I got up close to it. It was the first digital painting I ever saw that looked like a painting. Like he was taking brushes and painting, and he was the first guy I ever saw do it. You know what I mean? And I was like, as soon as I saw that, man, I'm like, and then another thing happened. It was Friday. He brought that painting in. I was working on my stuff, but I did mine in like acrylic or something. And he was talking to the art director before I got, he's always trying to get at the art director, right? He's always in meetings and stuff. So that guy, I can't even remember the guy's name. That guy was talking to him, and the art director goes, what? Because they're always going to change something. He goes, hey, can you change the lighting over here a little bit? And I think we can do this and do that. He runs across the street. I remember this Friday. He runs across the street to the computer lab or whatever. And it comes back, I don't know, 2 hours later, changes made, done. Right. And I'm talking to my art director and he goes, oh, yeah, changes. Well, guess what? I worked all weekend. You know what I mean? And I remember going, this doesn't fly anymore. You can't do this anymore. You know what I mean? It's just, and by the way, it's stupid to do it that way. When you're doing design work, why would I want to do it traditionally anymore? This gives me so much endless freedom. And I'd argue you probably get so much better design now because people aren't limited by that anymore. There's not that rigidity to the whole process now. It's very fluid, which I think is one of the coolest things ever about it. Okay. And then you're getting people like Craig, the ones we were just looking at, getting all these people that are doing things that are just like, man, that looks cool. You know what I mean? That's just a cool painting, man. I don't give a damn if it's digital or whatever. Right. So that's where I just want you guys to get your head wrapped around that and start hopefully going down that rabbit hole. Okay. But again, you're going to really need to go down this rabbit hole to figure this stuff out. Right. And you need to go back again. And I can put these links to all these guys. You got to go look at Soroya. You got to go look at Schmid. You got to go look at Sargent. You got to go look at, Zorn. You got to go look at all these people, right? And really study their brushwork and stuff. It's really, and then go wherever. The Norton Simon, I think, has some Rembrandts or something. Go look at those. I mean, the masters of brushwork, master painters, right? And go look at that stuff. Does that make sense? Man, it's such a great education to go look at those things. They're mind blowing, man. Like you go see those Rembrandts, the ones I saw of the Norton Simon, they're mind blowing. Okay. Now, I put up, or I'm going to put up right after this thing, just a quick, because I always like to have some application to these things. Let's see if I can find it here. Just a quick run through Okay, so what I did here in the beginning, and I mentioned it in the thing, hang on, is what I love about doing this is you can sort of create an imprimatur. Does everybody know what that is?
No.
Okay, it's this. You know, when you start a painting, you'll put down a thin wash, okay? And especially with oil, because you want a wet surface, right? That's the beauty of oils. It's just, you get this beautiful wet surface, okay? And you'll do something called oiling the surface. If the paint dries, you know, you might come in and put your medium all over to get it wet again. So you're working wet into wet, okay? So that's what this is. And I just picked up human to do just because I wanted to change it up, okay? So that's what's going on here is I'm just trying to create a nice, okay. And then I just did a quick drawing of this guy. I just used that as reference, okay? And then just went through the process of how I would do this, okay? That make sense?
Yes.
And I'm just using all the tools we've talked about, okay? It's 15 minutes. I sped it up a little, but not enough, not so much that you can't see what's going on, okay? And when I do those kind of quick things, are usually, I just think of something and I go, I should do a demo on this real quick, you know? So it's not a big formal thing. It's more of a discussion, but I'm using mostly mixer brushes in there, and I'm using some smudge and then some regular brushes. And that's really it. Does that make sense? So, you know, once we get, and by the way, I'll probably go back and revisit brushes a little bit towards the end of this class if I have time. I think I said that already, but because there's just some other I'm always remembering other things and going, oh, I should show you guys this and this and this. But I want to get the big picture plugged in first. Does that make sense? And to me, if you got an understanding of, you know, our regular brushes or how smudge tools work in there, and then now the mixer brush, you've got a really good range of really good tools for painting. Yeah. So all I'm expecting you guys to do is just put down a canvas like I just did and just smear and play. You know what I mean? And start learning. I want you to learn those controls right there, how they relate to each other. Because again, they do. Because sometimes you got to look at it. Sometimes your brush won't be doing, sometimes it won't be doing anything. And it's because you got something all the way down when you go, well, I have flow up and I have this, well, that, but now it's a dry brush. There's no paint on it. It could be stuff like that. Okay. So the flow is sort of the buildup. The load will, how much paint you got on there, but that also will kind of control how it trails off. Okay. So you can, if you put it at probably 100, if the load, I think it'll just keep going. Right. Whereas if you put it down, you'll put the stroke down, it'll run out of paint. Does that make sense? Which is really nice because a lot of times you want to dial those things in. What it's you know, obviously what this all emulating is real painting, and they had to build controls in there because it's not a real surface, obviously. And the mixer, to me, they built a lot into it really well. What I don't think they've done is languaged it very well. You know what I mean? Because it's just like they just, I don't know why. It's just how it is. It's Adobe. I don't know what else to say about it. I'm going to put up that video right now as soon as I think I already put it up. I just got to link it. And again, it's short. It's like 15 minutes. And again, it's not about doing a portrait. I'm not going to require anybody to do a portrait. It's just, it was a good subject matter for this. Okay. And it just changed it up. And especially something like the beard, it's just a bunch of abstraction and hard and soft edges. That's all it is. Okay. And you'll notice in there that I start going in with a regular brush every now and then to structure things back up. Okay. Because sometimes when I'm going in, I'm sort of throwing all this stuff down and then it's getting a little soft. And I got to go in with, you know, I'll go in with a regular brush and sort of structure things back up and then manipulate edges again. So it's just, you know, I want to make sure I'm keeping structure in these things. Does that make sense? So they don't all become everything soft edged, you know, which again is a trap that everybody falls into. For some reason, everything's blending. Everything looks really cool and it doesn't, I don't think anyway. Questions? So again, I would keep it at 72 DPI. You don't want to bog down your machine. You might want to go to, I don't know, about 11 by 17 or whatever you want. I don't really care. And you know, upload the PSD file tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, guys. Okay, guys. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you go. I'll see you in the morning. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mix or
Good morning.
brush?
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Good morning.
Thank you.